Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be talking to the sleepers, those of you who may be partially asleep and partially awake. But this is mostly for the sleepers, those of you who have no idea what's happening in this world right now. While you are sleeping, moves are being made in the background, moves that will directly affect your life. Sometimes you can't see or understand why certain things will affect your life, but if you pay very close attention, they very well may. What's sad is a lot of people don't know how to connect the dots, and so because you don't know how to connect the dots, you'll see something that is happening all the way over here, and you don't see how it adds up to something that's going to affect you right in your own backyard. You don't see how they connect, and so you don't pay attention to it. So while you are sleeping, moves are being made. So what am I talking about here? We watched a very short video. It was kind of like I would call it a short documentary even. And in this video, they were talking about how there are 4 major seed companies in the world. Through a lot of mergers and acquisitions, smaller companies have been bought up by larger companies, and Bayer is one of them. Bayer. You know, they make medicine, right? Much to my surprise, also, Monsanto was bought by Bayer. Now, a lot of people know the history of Monsanto and how they have patents on seeds, and they make it so if you own or buy, should I say, some of their seeds, you can't harvest your seeds from your crops and replant them for the next season. They say that that's an infringement on their patent. And so therefore they can sue you. And many farmers have been sued. Many have lost their farms as a result of it. And as a result of that, many have lost their lives. Some of these farmers had land that was in their family for generations and generations, and Monsanto sued them and took that land because of seeds that were reused from the previous year's crops. And so again, some of you may say, well, how does this affect me? You have to understand, if 4 major corporations have bought up all of these smaller operations of seed companies, even though the name may still exist, they are owned by major corporations. These major corporations want to control the food. If I remember, I will leave a link to that documentary, but what I wanted to talk about is the fact that these things are directly affecting you already and you don't even know it. If you pay attention to how the dots are connected on so many things and so many different areas of our lives, the control of the water, the control of the food, the control of farmland, the control of the air. I mean, so many things have to be considered. Now, they may not control necessarily the air in its totality, but airspace is definitely controlled for a number of different reasons. And so when we look at all of this control, they control the educational system. Everything that matters in your life is controlled by big corporations. The power companies control how you get light, how you get gas, and in many cases, how you get water. All of this stuff is controlled by something outside of you. Now, it wasn't like that back in the day. The days of Little House on the Prairie, these people, they did what they had to do for their own selves. Most of us couldn't even survive 1 week in a scenario such as Little House on the Prairie. That was real off-grid living. Most of us couldn't handle it. We don't even know what to do when the power goes off and it stays off for too long. If pipes burst, what do? If the gas company comes and shut things off, if there is no more propane, what do you do? And see, these aren't the things that people are focusing on right now. They're not asking themselves these kinds of questions right now. You know why? Because they are too entertained. It's just too much else that people feel is more important than what they're going to do from one day to the next if the crap hits the fan for real. Folk are too concerned about what celebrities are doing, what's happening in somebody else's life, what kind of game can they play on somebody, what kind of mischief can they stir up, what kind of wickedness can they be involved in. I mean, folk are so concerned with those things, what kind of deception they can put out there, what kind of lie they can tell on someone. There's just so much happening in the world. But guess what? While people are messing around with shenanigans, real moves are being played. Big corporations are sealing your fate. So I feel like a lot of people are asleep. Some people are half asleep. Some people are just all the way knocked out. Don't have a clue. Ain't trying to do nothing. And for some, it's just merely, oh, I got this excuse that I can just rub around. You don't understand. Making an excuse about your situation is not going to change it at all. It's not going to make any government institution or any type of local institution say, oh, since they have all of these excuses, let me help them through this situation. When the crap really does hit the fan, a lot of the scenarios that we've seen played out on movies and television will be right there in your face. Now, who am I talking to? I'm talking to everyone, myself, my family included. But see, there are varying degrees of us who are doing all that we can to make sure that certain things are taken care of, certain businesses handled. There are some people who will never try to do anything because they think that they can use their excuses as a crutch and just wait for whatever happens to happen. It's never good to have a fatalistic attitude of whatever happens, happens. That's never a good way to think. What I say is this, family, and I say this often, unification. It seems to be the key, right? But it's easier said than done. I'm constantly watching things that just kind of really bother me on so many levels. One thing that I watched earlier today, now it's not that what I watched bothered me, but it's the reality of my people that bothers me. What I saw was something called Eco Village. And it was a group of people who had a parcel of land, and the land wasn't that big at all. But 42 people lived on this land in various types of structures. Some had regular single-family homes. Some had tiny homes. Some had other structures that were made out of the earth and just, different things like that. But they had an agreement with one another. And guess what? Most of them were older people, middle-aged or older people. But they had an agreement. And this agreement was that they would take care of each other and take care of the land together. They all had a common goal of making sure that they were taking care of the earth. Now, they had little issues. There's always going to be issues, but there's a way to resolve those issues as well. But these people purpose within their minds that we have got to do this. This is going to make it easier for us. So we've got to do this. We got to make this work, right? Not making it work in a sense of we got to put up with each other's crap, because they had rules, right? And see, that's the problem that I see with my people. You desire to do this because you think that it'll make things a lot easier if everyone comes together with one mind. Now, let me just clarify something real quick. If you come together with one mind, it does work. But the problem is there's too much deception in that thought, because a lot of people will say, you know what, we're on the same page. I want to do this. I have a desire to do this. I want to live this kind of lifestyle. But when it comes down to it, all of a sudden attitudes flare, lies, and just all kinds of things take over, and the situation falls apart. Ask me how I know. But anyway, when I look at times like this, or situations that we're all in right now, you say to yourself, wow, why can't we make something like this work properly? Why can't we do it? Because it seems like we have to. It seems like it's a must, in my opinion. It seems like it's something that is needed. Because times are so strange right now. Everybody in the world right now is talking about how strange times are, and how there's no going back to what we thought or what we used to call normal. There's no going back to that. So where do we go from here? I'm not trying to sound negative about our people coming together, because I do believe that it can happen. But just about every situation I've heard of, there's always some junk going on. Always. I have yet to see one situation where there wasn't some stuff going down. Not one. And we have to ask ourselves why, because, I often hear our people say that we are all each other got and we need each other. Now, I agree with part of that. I don't believe that we are all each other got, because if this was it, we in trouble. I believe that the Most High is who we should look to first and foremost. So I don't believe in that we're all each other got type stuff, because like I said, we'd be messed up because so many of our people don't like each other, can't get along. But what I can say is this. I do believe that working together or having some type of unity would be of benefit with the right people. Those who understand that hard work is all the time, not just at 1 day or 2 days or a few hours in a day or 30 minutes here and there. Survival is an all-day thing. Meaning at any time stuff can happen. You know what I mean? What do you happen if overnight in the middle of winter the power goes off? What do? Do you get up and survive, or do you just give up and say, ugh? Do you get up or do you give up? Which one do you do? And so there's a mindset that must exist when you want to work together with others, because I see these other nations doing it, and they are not just making it work for the sake of, I'm going to put up with this person's junk. No, they're making it work by saying, look, we ain't going to even bring no junk to the table to begin with. We see what's happening. We see what's going on. We going to make this village work, you see, because we going to bring our attitudes in check. We're going to check them at the door or not bring them in the first place. When I see all that is happening, sometimes you can't help but get a little frightened, but you have to say, you know what? I have to put my faith and trust in the Most High Yah. Now, a lot of states are experiencing this deep freeze. From north to south, is something cold going on right about now. Now, this is the kind of thing I was used to in Michigan. We were used to it in Michigan. But this long of a deep freeze can be a trip. Even in Michigan, I remember one time we had a deep freeze in the middle of winter. Power went out, and it was so cold, and there was nothing you can do about it but bundle up, because there was nobody coming until the storm passed over. You know what I mean? Those are the situations that I think that we never think about. We never think about when something drastic happens. Now, so far in this deep freeze, one of our roosters did succumb to the weather. He had gotten out of the enclosure, so he wasn't able to bundle up with the other birds. And so he did freeze, poor fella. The poor fella. I don't like that kind of stuff, family. I know it's a rooster, but I just don't like that kind of stuff. I love animals. I really do. And so I wish he had just stayed in his enclosure or thought to say, hey, let me get back over this fence. The same way he got out, go back in and get with your buddies and bundle up. But again, those are the things that happens in this type of weather. I remember in Detroit, there were a number of situations where people who were homeless on the streets actually froze. One man, he had frozen down in some water and they had to wait for the thaw to get his body out of there. And it was just so sad. He was a homeless guy and he was in downtown Detroit. This was a long time ago. But when you hear things like that, you can't imagine the suffering that man went through. You can't imagine the suffering. And so I say to myself, man, what will it take for us to understand that we got to get our minds right and our hearts right and our attitudes right, and everything adjusted properly so that it can work with us coming together in unification. Because again, a lot of people want to push for unification without changing their ways or their thoughts or their actions. They want to unify, but they don't want to unify mentally and in spirit so that there is no problems that arise. And so sometimes I do get a bit frustrated when I see other people, other groups of people, other races of people who are able to do these things and they're doing everything that they're supposed to. Everybody's doing their part in its entirety, not just pitching in here and there, but kicking their feet up the rest of the time. That kind of bothers me. It really does. Because many of us have a vision of how we would like things to be working with our people, working with our families. We have that vision in mind. We would like to see it happen. We would love to see it happen. But when the answer comes back always, that is easier said than done. Now that is very, very sad. But anyway, it's not impossible. It's sad, difficult, but not impossible. And I have a feeling that as times get more and more rough, that people are going to start making some attitude adjustments. They're going to say, you know what, I'm going to check this at the door. I'm not going to let these spirits and demons start rising up. I'm going to do what I got to do. Folk going to start doing what they have to do, and they're going to just say, look, I can't afford to not get myself together. And so there's going to be a lot of changing because times and situations is going to force it. Anyway, I want to encourage all of us. Every last one of us got some things that need to be adjusted. I know that for a fact. No one is perfect, okay? But I think we should work on that because as times get more and more rough, it's going to call for it. It's going to be a necessity, okay? But look at the handwriting on the wall. The crap has already hit the fan, family. It's not about to happen. It's already happened, okay? And you got to know that it's only going to go from bad to worse. It's only going to go from bad to worse. And what you do with this information is up to you. But as for me and my house, we're going to continue to serve and trust the Most High Yah and do what it is we have to do because faith without works is dead. I hope I've said something to encourage you to get a move on and do what it is you have to do to secure your family, to secure your situation. I'll continue to talk about acquisition of land, small parcels, big parcels, whatever it is you can afford. But I really think these are the things that people need to focus on and stop focusing on foolishness. Okay? Foolishness aside, focus on reality. It is time to redirect. With that, family, I am out. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.